Askimo TV. We're talking to Guido Rauch, who is a wealth manager residing in the UK. By nature, wealth management is a risky field. Today we will talk about mistakes and how to hopefully avoid them. So Guido, thanks for joining us today.
It's a pleasure, thank you.
Tell us, what is the biggest mistake that a wealth manager can make?
The biggest mistake really is overconfidence and lack of discipline. Because you have to understand that we all make mistakes. You can make a wrong investment, and hopefully you will have made it with the right ideas behind it, but you have to be able to recognize that it was a mistake. And then you have to say, okay, I'm cutting my losses. I'm not going to stick to my guns because once upon a time I made that decision. And that's a very important one. The discipline in this whole job is the most important thing. So therefore, both on the upside, you have to be very disciplined that you say, okay, I bought a particular investment, I expected it to do well, it has done well. I'm not going to get too confident thinking it's going to go even better. I'm taking my profit. And the same the other way around. If it hasn't done well and you've made a mistake and you've reviewed the assumptions why you make investments and they have changed, you must cut your losses, which is very hard because most people will think, oh, well, it's going to come back. Or things never come back.
Okay. So for you, the manager, obviously it can get stressful to be responsible for such large sums of money. So is there anything that you always keep in mind, one little detail that will stop you from becoming reckless at any time?
Yes, I remember that I am a parent. I have 3 children, and therefore, as a result, the responsibility which I feel for my family is the same kind of responsibility I feel for my clients. The things I couldn't sleep if something were, unfortunately not going well for my children. The same thing for my clients. There's no difference there whatsoever. You have to be involved and you have to feel that sense of responsibility, and that is the thing which really makes you not being reckless. It makes you also not sleep at night, but that's a different issue.
Fair enough. What would you say to a potential client that was concerned about the risks of such a method of investment? What would you say to someone who says to you that the only way that their money is going to be safe is if it's underneath their mattress?
Well, first of all, you would have to have a pretty large mattress, because if somebody has substantial amounts of money, it's quite difficult to hide that. Secondly, not doing anything is not a strategy either, because very simply you have inflation. Inflation at the moment in most industrialist countries is not the biggest issue, but it has been a big issue. So you can lose between 2 and 3% for not doing anything at all, because the money will get worth less every year. So you put it on your mattress, and after 20 years, it will be worth the money it's in. So that is certainly not a strategy. What you have to do, and what you have to explain to clients, is the best way is to have a certain balanced approach to your portfolio. Put certain things in investments which have more risks but potential more return, and others into investments which are more safe and produce less of a return. That's the key.
Okay. If you do make a mistake, is there ever a way to reverse it?
Well, as I said before, a mistake really means that you invested in a company which ultimately didn't perform as well as you thought it would. So you can't reverse that mistake because it hasn't performed that well. But what you have to do, you have to recognize you made a mistake and then get out of it. So you have to cut your losses immediately when they reach a certain level which you think you have to get out. That is the key in this industry. So you can't reverse the mistake as such. You can obviously hope to make it up with other investments, but the key is not to prolong a mistake which you made originally.
Okay. And to what extent are you liable for the money of your client?
I'm not liable in a way which anybody who gives advice, which I do, if they are negligent in their advice, the client can potentially sue you. because you have a professional expertise and the client relies on that, even though I always discuss my investments with the client. Ultimately, you are the expert. So if you really were truly negligent, the client could bring a law case for negligence. But that's extremely rare, I would say. So I am liable potentially, but in reality, that is very rarely the case.
Okay. And finally, how, if I may ask, do you make money out of this? Do you take a fee, or do you take a cut of the returns depending on how much you make?
You know, I'm a charity. I do it for free. Not quite. I take a flat commission per year, which is, I'm very happy to say so because it's on my website anyway. It's 0.75% on the assets which I manage, but there are no further commissions for any transactions. A lot of people, a lot of banks make their money by buying and selling all the time. I don't. You pay me one flat fee a year for the advice, for buying, for selling, and that's all it is.
Is that the common way that most wealth managers do it, or do most of them take another approach?
Well, it used to be a bit different. It's changing now, particularly in the UK, because in a lot of countries, the wealth manager, so to speak, didn't really take a direct commission from the client, a direct fee. He got paid by the kind of fund managers in whose funds he invested, which creates, if you think about it, quite a lot of conflict of interest. And so in the UK, they're going to abolish that from next year. It was a much more pleasant environment to work in for wealth managers because the client never knew how much you actually charged them, because he didn't see anything. He didn't get a bill because the money was taken out the other side, which I've always strongly objected to in my approach. But the main charge which clients still have, is a lot of times when you buy and sell, banks make a lot of money out of that. They just take additional commissions, which I think is a practice which hopefully will be eroded over time.
Okay. Very interesting. Thank you so much for speaking to us today at Askimo TV.
Pleasure.